Welcome to Pop Cult, where we talk reality TV, celebrity chaos, and pop culture throwbacks. Hey everyone, welcome back to Pop Cult. I'm Avery.
And I'm Julia.
And we are your hosts. And welcome back for another Fame Files episode. I believe it is Christmas Day.
I wish.
Crazy. Merry Christmas, everyone. Or Happy Hanukkah, which has already passed, but just in case anyone celebrates Hanukkah.
Just in case. I hope everybody is having a good, cozy time and just having fun watching Stranger Things Volume 2.
Oh my god, when does it come out?
On Christmas Day.
Okay, you guys, my bangs look so insane right now. Like, I literally look like I cut my own bangs. I'm not even kidding.
It is giving that. Oh my god, it looks like the one, it's over your eyebrow and then the rest of it's above. Were you like putting your eyes up when you...
I just think she like messed him up kind of. But I did tell her to cut, like, it's so, but also this side is kind of sticking up. You see that?
Yeah.
Versus this side is like flat to my head. So I think that's maybe why it looks so uneven.
Yeah, maybe take
like,
a blow dryer to it. Get a straightener
I feel like
out.
it looks better like this, right?
Yeah. Just walk around like that.
I've had a lot of like kind of, I feel like every time I go get my bangs cut or trimmed, they look kind of botched when I leave. And then like the first time that I like wash my own hair and style it, they look fine. So I never freak out when that happens to me, but it is a little bit startling at first.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Speaking of bangs, I did not plan this segue, but it works. We're talking about Taylor Swift today. Taylor Swift. I feel like she's had bangs for like many years.
She has bangs. She has bangs because she cut them in that one Vogue photo shoot. Oh my god, am I okay?
We're off to a good start.
But that was like 20 plus years ago, maybe? Like
20?
No, 15.
20 years ago, she would have been 16.
Yeah, she was young. 2012.
That's crazy.
How many years ago was that?
They're 15?
Fucking had it. I said 20, but then I said 15.
You did say 15. Wow, that's wild. Imagine being in Vogue in like, how old was she in 2012? She was born in 1989.
Yeah.
Like 20 something? That's crazy. But yes, today we are discussing her years-long feud with music producer Scooter Braun, who I did actually see not too long ago leaving Washington Square Park with Sydney Sweeney.
Crazy.
On his arm, which was wild. It was a very delayed reaction on my part. I was like, wow, that is a really short adult. Like, she's very short. And then I was like, she kind of looks like Sydney Sweeney. And then I looked at who she was walking with. I noticed she was like holding someone's hand. And I saw who she was walking with, and I was like, I think that might be Scooter Braun. And it was. And then like 2 days later, I saw a picture that the paparazzi snapped of them like walking kind of where I saw them, and you
could have been sniped by the paparazzi.
100%. And what's really embarrassing about this is that I just like had a hankering for like a dessert that day. It was like probably a random Sunday, so I walked my ass all the way over to Levain Cookies and had Levain cookies in my bag walking back and Scooter Braun.
So you probably smelled really good. You smelled like cookies.
Hopefully. And my thing is, like, they're probably like the most relevant celebrity in this era that I've ever seen, but I would never stop and ask them for like a picture or anything, because I feel like they maybe wouldn't be very nice.
I feel like they would like slap you on the face, to be honest.
I feel like their security would probably, like, I didn't see security, but I'm sure they were around. And
was he wearing the like green pants and she was in like a dress situation?
I think she was maybe wearing like a skirt or something, and he had on a hat.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the right photo.
Yeah, she had on sunglasses, like a little black sunglasses. Yeah. Her hair looked amazing for the record.
Yeah, it looks great in this.
But we're not talking about that blondie today. We're talking about the woman herself, Taylor Swift. Do you know anything about this situation? I'm sure you do.
Oh my god,
I'm asking you that
absolutely.
Question.
But I love to hear about it because I love Taylor Swift. Like, why would I not want to talk about her for an hour?
Of course. Well, we can just get right into it, because I'm not even going to go into details about who Taylor Swift is, because genuinely, how could you not know? Even
if you don't know anything about her, you know who she is. You know
she's a legend. You know she's been around for a really long time in the music industry.
You know who she is. You know what she does.
Because she's relevant and she's talented.
And go do some homework and watch the docuseries that she's literally releasing right now.
Right. Such a good point. You're welcome, Disney/Hulu, for plugging that for you guys. I'm sure ratings will skyrocket after this episode comes out. However, who you might not know anything about really is Scooter Braun. And I have to say, I'm going to try and remain unbiased throughout this episode because
I won't.
Regardless of, yeah, you can be the unbiased party. I'm sure I'll throw some digs in there. But, like, I do have to just say, for the record, despite his clear wrongdoings in regard to how he went about this situation that we're about to talk about, he is a very successful person.
Yeah.
And has skyrocketed many extremely well-known A-list artists into stardom, which we'll talk about a little bit. So, like, regardless of how we feel about him, he is a successful guy and obviously talented at what he does. But I do think it's very realistic that one may not know who he is because he is not necessarily always like the face of these accomplishments that he has made throughout his life. It's mostly somebody else who he's like promoting. But he was born in New York City, raised in Greenwich, Connecticut, and then actually went to college in Georgia at Emory University.
Interesting.
Which, for anyone who doesn't know, Julia and I were both raised in the Southeast. So I just always think it's like, what a weird place. Emory University is like not that big of a college.
Where is it?
So it's in I think it's in Atlanta. Like, I think it's in the city.
Well, I was born there.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know I was born in Atlanta?
No, you've moved so much. I thought you were born in Virginia.
No, that's where my brother was born.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking of. It's fresher in my mind, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was in Atlanta, though, when he started his run as a party promoter. And this is really, like, how he got his start in the music industry. I had to Google really, like, what a party promoter is because that just, like, doesn't sound like a real job. It's kind of like when people, you know, before influencing was real mainstream, it's like what people called, I feel like that's what people said about influencing.
I know you've never seen Modern Family, but that is the oldest daughter, Haley. She's, like, a party promoter for a little bit, and her parents are convinced that she's, like, a stripper.
Oh my, I mean, I have seen Modern Family, but I definitely don't think I've watched it all the way through. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wait, that's so funny, actually. So, for anyone like me who didn't really know what that meant, and clearly Phil and, what was her name?
Phil
and Claire from Modern Family. A party promoter is somebody who markets events by spreading the word via social media or literally by word of mouth and basically curates guest lists for these events to increase earnings. And then they get commission from the show somehow, whether that be like ticket sales or alcohol sales or whatever it is. And at one point during when he was getting started in this line of work, if you will, he was approached by a young rapper who was asking him to help him promote his parties, and this rapper was Ludacris. So that's kind of crazy.
It is.
In 2007, he discovered Justin Bieber on YouTube, and this was really, I think, kind of like when he got his break and his legs kind of under him in the music industry. Justin Bieber was one of the first artists that Scooter Braun signed to his company, Scooter SB Projects. So Scooter Braun Projects, but I think it was just referred to as SB Projects.
Okay.
In addition to, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that he still this is still the company that he has today, among other companies that we'll talk about, but like SB Projects is what he still has artists signed under. So in addition to Justin Bieber, he has also managed Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato, Carly Rae Jepsen, the Black Eyed Peas, and the infamous Kanye West, who we will obviously talk about because he does have some involvement in this story, but nonetheless,
that is kind of an impressive entourage he's got started.
Roster, 100%. Yeah. I mean, truly, regardless of how you feel about any of these people, some of the biggest artists in the industry, and this is just some of them. Like, there are a lot more.
I feel like he still has, oh my god, he still has a lot of these. I'm looking at his website right now. Ariana, Ashley Graham. Interesting. Carly Rae Jepsen, Demi, she's still there. Hillary Duff.
I think maybe Ariana Grande has parted ways, but
she's on his website.
Okay, maybe not then. Maybe there was just rumors.
But I thought, what is Republic Records? Because I feel like everyone has something to do with them. Is that different?
I don't know. They might be like who produces the music, you know? Like,
why are there so many? Why can't it just this is probably why Taylor Swift left. She's like, why can't it just be one? And then she's like, well, I'll just do it. No, I'm just kidding. I know what happened, but still.
It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, to your point, some of the biggest artists in the industry, like there is no denying that he has had a successful career and is honestly still very young to have found like all this success. The interesting aspect here though is that even with all of these artists, he has not ever managed Taylor Swift. So it's kind of like, what's their beef? What's the inciting issue here?
Mm-hmm.
It goes all the way back to August of 2016. The feud officially started over the Kanye West song Famous. Also, I don't know if I teed this up, but basically they were in a year, I think I did. I think I said they were in a years long feud, and that's what we're talking about today, right?
I don't recall.
I think I did.
But didn't the feud with Kanye West start before the song Famous? Because it started at the 2008 VMAs.
It did, but that's actually a good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Yes, you're correct. It did. Her feud with Kanye West started long before 2016. An incident with Kanye West
and how we
is
get
the
Scooter
reason,
Braun in here. Okay.
Exactly why she has beef with Scooter Braun. It goes all the way back to August 2016. The feud officially starts over the Kanye West song Famous. For anyone who does not recall, this is the one where Kanye West calls Taylor Swift a bitch and then claims that he made her famous, which is an insane thing to say. This was obviously a huge pop culture moment in and of itself, which we will probably do an episode on. I think we will probably do one on Taylor Swift's feud with Kanye.
Oh, 100%.
When all of this went down, Scooter Braun was managing Kanye West. So I think for Taylor Swift, it's like basically he's co-signing the message of the song.
Well, he saw the lyrics, knew the lyrics, approved the lyrics. Like, this is like everything that someone else does that you're signed for is a reflection on you. Like, you're a reflection of the company that you work for.
Precisely. And also, I mean, we don't know the ins and outs of how it works, but I'm assuming that everything that Kanye West writes or any of his artists writes go through him at some point.
I'm sure.
And so then on August 2nd, 2016, Justin Bieber, there's a lot of people involved in this. It will start to kind of trickle off after this initial incident. But Justin Bieber posts an Instagram picture of himself on FaceTime with Scooter Braun and Kanye West and captioned it, Taylor Swift, what up?
Why did he need to be included in this?
Like, can you look up how old Justin Bieber was in 2016?
Also in 2016, he didn't need to try to be relevant in any way, because wasn't he pretty famous at that point? Like,
yes,
not that he's not still famous now, but like, I feel like he still actively had music coming out in 2016.
It's giving immature, and it's also giving you're being used by two grown men that are quite a bit your senior, which is what like I was 22. Really bothered by. Okay. And how old was Taylor Swift in 2016?
She would have been closer to like 27, 28. 27. Hit it right on the dot.
Okay, so it's like, why are you guys dragging a 27-year-old woman into this? Also, that's just like so weird to me. But it's obviously like deliberate digs at this point.
He posted an apology post. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, Justin Bieber had to post an apology for that, and it's a picture of him and Taylor Swift when he's like little. Oh hey Taylor, first of all, I would like to apologize for posting that hurtful Instagram post. At the time, I thought it was funny, but looking back, it was just distasteful and insensitive.
Why do I feel like his mom made him post that?
I don't know.
That's tea. So fast forward to 2018, Taylor's contract with Big Machine Label Group ends in November of that year. This label was the only label she had ever signed with, originally signing with them in like 2004, 2005-ish. So some background on this, because it will continue to be a character throughout this. Big Machine Label Group is a Nashville-based music company that also represented artists like Sheryl Crow and Rascal Flatts. We can't talk about Big Machine without briefly mentioning the other man involved in this incident, Scott Borchetta. He is the founder of Big Machine Label Group and the label that subsequently signed Taylor Swift at 14 years old. She was his very first artist. Taylor has said, since, all of this has transpired, that she always thought that Scott thought of her as the daughter that he never had. So clearly she was like really confident that they had a good, mutually respectful relationship.
Yeah, she trusted him.
Of course. And so her contract ends. And at this point, she's 6 albums in. They own Taylor Swift up to Reputation. At this point, she is like a worldwide superstar. Like she just really, I'm sure, was like ready for something new. She wasn't living in Nashville anymore. Like I just feel like she was probably like, I've outgrown this label.
Well, to be honest, they also probably like couldn't not handle her as if she's crazy, but handle her brand anymore.
Yes, that's a great point. But unfortunately, they still held the rights to her first 6 albums. So that's the end of 2018. Cut to June of 2019. Scooter Braun's company, his other company, Ithaca Holdings LLC, pays $300 million to acquire Big Machine Label Group. Unfortunately, this acquisition meant that the rights to all of the masters and recording assets that Big Machine Label Group owned now belong to Scooter Braun and Ithaca Holdings LLC, including Taylor Swift's masters.
Mm-hmm. So who else was signed to, like, was signed to that label that also got bought by Scooter Braun, or was like nobody like big?
It's a good question because it makes me wonder why. I assume anybody who, because it kind of begs the question, why did Taylor Swift like blow this up and kind of be like, this is super unfair that they just sold my masters. Spoiler alert, she's pissed that they just sold her masters without giving her the opportunity to buy them. So it kind of begs the question, why didn't these other artists do that? I'm assuming it was because they were planning to stay with Big Machine Label Group. So whoever was signed to Big Machine Label Group at the time would have also been wrapped up in this deal. I don't know who that would have been, but I would assume some like pretty well-known country artists. So essentially, what all of this means is that Scooter Braun had officially bought all of Taylor Swift's masters with the acquisition of Big Machine. And you may be wondering, because I was, what exactly is a master? A master is the original recorded performance of a song. And in the music industry, whoever owns the master owns the right to control how it's distributed and licensed. The artists are still paid royalties, but they don't own the rights to do whatever they want with their music without the written permission of their label. So of course, as somebody who's at this point almost 30-year-old woman, at this point she's definitely a millionaire. She's devastated by this. And because she could have bought her own music back if somebody had given her the opportunity, but she was also evidently shocked by this deal as well. When she found out that Scooter Braun now owned her music, this was just funny to me, took to Tumblr of all places.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
It's giving a sign of the times, right? But just funny to think about. And posted a statement which read, quote, "For years I asked, pleaded for a chance to own my own work. Instead, I was given an opportunity to sign back up to Big Machine Records and, in quotes, earn one album back at a time. One for every new one I turned in. I walked away because I knew once I signed that contract, Scott Borchetta would sell the label, thereby selling me and my future. When I left my masters in Scott's hands, I made peace with the fact that eventually he would sell them. Never in my worst nightmares did I imagine the buyer would be Scooter. Anytime Scott Borchetta has heard the word Scooter Braun escape my lips, it was when I was either crying or trying not to. He knew what he was doing. They both did. Controlling a woman who didn't want to be associated with them. In perpetuity. That means forever."
So she thought it would never be Scooter because, like, of the whole Scooter Kanye feud situation? Okay.
Right. And yes, and just like, yeah, I think it's like unfortunate because she knew that he would sell them, but then she also has no say in who she sells them to. And I think she probably knew that if he sold them to Scooter Braun, then it would be really difficult for her to get them back.
And well, she was probably like maybe like telling herself like, oh, whoever he sells them to, like maybe I can get in good with them and eventually be able to buy it back. Like that's what she's telling herself to be okay with it. And then she hears that it's Scooter, and she was like, this was literally planned all along, and they're screwing me over.
And it's really unfortunate because she had, like, it was a double-edged sword because either she leaves the label and leaves her first 6 albums with him, or she re-signs with the label and then leaves all of her future albums.
Yeah.
Plus the ones she's already made. You know, but basically the implication of this statement is that they went behind her back to make this deal, even though she had asked to buy them herself. She had like been like, give me a quote, like the price is right, I'll pay it. She also posted on Tumblr in a separate statement, I believe, quote, some fun facts about today's news. I learned about Scooter Braun's purchase of my master's as it was announced to the world. All I could think about was the incessant manipulative bullying I've received at his hands for 10 years. Along with this, she posted the screenshot of Justin Bieber's Instagram post with the caption, this is Scooter Braun, bullying me on social media when I was at my lowest point. He's about to own all the music I've ever made. It is like insane thinking about something that you made
is now held by like your enemy.
And you also didn't even know that it was
You
being
had
sold.
no
Like,
idea.
to me, it seems like that should be illegal. Like, you should have to tell the artist that you're about to sell their music. Whether they can do
and
anything
even
about
if
it or
has
not,
to be,
it's their music.
If it has to be some sort of bidding war, they should always be given the opportunity to try to bid for it. Even if they like, I don't think at this point in time she would have had that amount of money, liquid money to give.
100%,
but
yeah.
like she should have been like, hey, this is what we're setting the price at. Like, I'm sorry you can't afford that, but at least you know we're about to sell it. I don't know. They like
100%. I totally agree. At this point, obviously we know that her fan base is vast, and so because of this, Scooter Braun obviously got a ton of hate for this online, and that was really the only right. That was really the only thing that he addressed when responding to what Taylor Swift had said publicly for a while. At one point, even before he jumped in, his wife jumps in on Instagram with a scathing statement. I mean, truly, like, really like below the belt digs, in my opinion. It's really long and it's petty. So the gist of it is that she claims that Taylor Swift was given the opportunity to buy back her masters and that she passed, and that her dad, Taylor Swift's dad, was actually a shareholder. And because of that, she's implying that Taylor and her dad were both notified about the sale by Scott Borchetta. She calls Taylor Swift a bully, tells her that she needs to control her fans and that their children had been receiving threats and that she needed to take this off of social media and pick up the phone and have this conversation.
Okay. I have preached from day one to never give out death threats, especially to children.
100%.
Swifties are crazy. That was not deserved at all, and she had every right to be mad about that. However, I don't think Taylor Swift, who like never ever wants to be given bad press, I don't think she would have ever said a word. She'd already literally just disappeared off the face of the earth for what, a year and a half?
Yes.
Because she didn't want to say anything back because she was getting so much hate. She knew the amount of hate that she would get for coming out against Scooter. Why would she do that if it wasn't true?
Absolutely. And also, it's one thing to be notified about the sale of your music. It's another thing to not be told who they're selling it to.
Yeah. So she literally said in a statement that she knew that her masters were probably going to get sold.
Mm-hmm.
She just didn't know to who, and she didn't know the date of when.
Yes, and that's her biggest problem. And also, let's not sit here and pretend like anybody wouldn't be pissed if something that they created was sold without their knowledge and consent.
Absolutely. Like,
Anybody
that's why we have
be.
like trademarks and patents, so that doesn't happen. But like we don't,
Yeah.
for some reason, we don't have that with artists' work, like musicians.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me. But
And I think that for me is like the biggest thing about this whole scenario is I just feel like this whole time Scott Borchetta and Scooter Braun were like trying to play dumb and pretend like they didn't know what they were doing was wrong or offensive or underhanded. And it's like, stop acting like that. The reason that people do shit like this is so they can get a paycheck, a fat paycheck. So don't sit here and act like, just own it. Own the fact that you wanted that 300 mil, because that's what you did this for. You didn't do it because you care about protecting the integrity of her work or any other artist's work. You did it because you were going to get paid out. And like, that's just the tea. And she's calling you out on that. She's also saying that she offered to pay you. So like, let's not pretend like this wasn't something that you did in an intent to control one of the biggest artists in the music industry. It's just like, to me, that's just stupid. Like, stop acting like everyone else is stupid and like you've got us all fooled. Nonetheless, after the Tumblr post, Big Machine Label Group, because she was also calling them out, not just Scooter Braun, all of them, responds with another lengthy statement, which I'm not going to read, but you can find it online if anyone's interested. It's just really long. I don't want this whole thing to be statements.
Yeah.
But the gist of it was that they said that, quote, the narrative that Taylor Swift has created does not exist, and that they had tried many times to have conversations with her to resolve the situation. They insisted that she had the opportunity to buy her music back, but chose to leave Big Machine Label Group instead, which is not the truth. Like, that is like a very warped version of the truth.
Yeah, that's a very overarching, because didn't they say that she has to make a new album to own one album, but then they own the new album? So that doesn't make any sense. They're just trying to keep her because they know what they would lose by losing her. But she understood her worth, and she understood that she shouldn't be demeaned just because she's a woman. So she left.
I'm sure that there's more nuance to it, but like essentially, yes, it's one for one.
Mhm.
So it's like, does she want her new discography or does she want her old discography? Like, I feel like to say that is just, it's like, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, it's just canceling each other out.
Yeah.
Like, of
Doesn't make
course
any
she would
sense.
rather own at least her new albums,
Mhm.
you know?
Yep.
Scott Borchetta, though, even claimed, kind of going back to what Scooter Braun's wife said, that because Taylor Swift's dad was a shareholder in Big Machine Label Group, that he would have been on the call wherein the sale of her masters was announced, like, to the other shareholders. But Taylor Swift's team responded saying that the reason that he wasn't aware is that they were going to make him sign an NDA before that phone call that would basically say that he was not allowed to tell anyone, including Taylor, about the deal. So he's like, I didn't sign it because then I would have had to keep this piece of devastating information from my daughter. So instead, he sends a lawyer, in lieu of him as shareholder, to this meeting, which is why Scott Borchetta claims that there's no way that she just found out at the same time as anyone else. And I will say, like, her dad earned, because he was a shareholder, $15 million from the sale. Do with that information what you will. I don't obviously know what happened to that money, but I just think it's like, this is not the point. The point isn't that her dad should have known or that she definitely knew. The point is that you sold her music.
Yeah.
Like, why are we getting into, I hate when people do this. Like, I feel like this happen, if they do this all the time, somebody's always trying to put the blame on someone else. And it's just like, just take responsibility for what you did, you know? Big Machine also claimed, this is tea, that Taylor Swift owed them $1 million for what? I'm not sure. But her publicist, Tree Payne, debunked this, saying that they actually, yeah, I know. I don't know a lot about her, but I know that she's like been around forever.
I know that she's a bad bitch, and I don't need to know anything else.
But Tree debunked this, saying that Big Machine actually owed Taylor around $7.9 million in royalties.
I hope she got that money. I know she's worth like billions now, but I hope she got that.
No, seriously. Me too. In August of 2019, Taylor Swift announced on Good Morning America that she would be re-recording her albums that were now owned by Scooter Braun.
What kind of witchcraft did Good Morning America get to get all of Taylor Swift's announcements exclusive?
Oh my god, Good Morning America has just been around for so long. I feel like that's why. I don't really know. This was just a fun fact that I came across just after the initial sale of Big Machine Label Group and Taylor Swift's masters. Kelly Clarkson enters the chat with a tweet that said, like, basically adding Taylor, telling her that she should re-record her masters so that fans would buy the new ones instead of the old ones. So the reason I put this in here is because I'm like, maybe we have Kelly Clarkson to thank for the actual re-recorded albums and also the vault tracks.
My confusion is how she was able to do that, but I guess it's because the like how re-recording isn't a violation of something. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the exact same wording. Is it just is it because just like music, like songs are so different, like they're not literally trademarked word for word, I guess?
It's actually, we're like literally about to talk about it. That brings us to the 2019 American Music Awards in November of the same year that her music was sold. She was being honored for Artist of the Decade and was planning to sing a medley of hits. But about 10 days out from the event, she took to Twitter and exposed Scott and Scooter for not allowing her to perform her songs that they owned because the label was claiming that it would be considered, quote, re-recording of my music before I'm allowed to next year. Those are her words. On top of this, they also refused to let Netflix use any of her old recordings or concert footage for their 2020 documentary Miss Americana.
Is that why she filmed that only the Young song that's like featured in that?
I don't know, but maybe that's a good theory.
I love that documentary.
It is a really good documentary. I can't find it anywhere. I don't know where.
I think because of her new little contract with Disney, she can't really have. That's why the Reputation tour is no longer on Netflix too. Sad face.
That's a big fat bummer.
I'm hoping it's because all of her concert like videos will come onto Disney, and so I can watch all of them. because I know we were at the 1989 tour and I know we were at the Red tour. I remember nothing of either of those concerts, and I would love to see them again.
I remember 1989, but I don't really remember Red all that.
I remember, I think in Red, did she wear, at the very end, she wore like a circus costume, like a ringmaster.
Her outfits on that tour were so ugly. Yeah,
Stop.
I think she did.
And I remember the stage like picked up, like went into the air and spun.
Yes, there was like a second stage that like elevated. Yeah, that was cool.
What's so funny is I know I like literally recorded the whole thing and I have no idea where that footage is. It's somewhere in cyberspace.
Oh my god, maybe your mom knows where it is. They were at that. That's so funny. Our moms took us to that concert, BTW.
Yeah.
And I think your mom took us to 1989, but I don't think my mom went to that one.
No, I don't think. No, she wasn't there.
I've seen, for the record, Taylor Swift's last 4 tours. I went to Reputation also.
Impressive.
Which Julia didn't see, but...
Why do you have to say that? Cut that out. I don't want that out there.
I'm leaving it in.
I was obviously busy that year.
Clearly. I was in college, so I think I went to like the DC show or something.
I feel like I was like a freshman in high school.
Yeah. Fun fact, I surprised my best friend from college. Me and one of my other former college friends surprised him with tickets for his birthday, and it was like literally the best thing I've ever done. Like, it was so funny. Anyways, though, back to this whole thing. They're basically telling her you can't use your music in anything.
The year
of
like, 2019. Because
right.
Okay.
She claims that their stipulations were that they would allow these things so long as she did not re-record her music the following year, because the stipulation was that after that year was up, after they sold her masters, then it was in her contract that she could re-record. So to your point,
so it was illegal at some point. It was just written into the contract of an ending year, or maybe like 1 year after she leaves a label or something like that. Kind of like a non-compete clause situation, but still, that should never stop a performance.
Well, you make a good point, because ultimately the implication is that because they owned her masters, the deal was that she could re-record her music if she wanted ownership, but she had to wait at least a year. So at the end of this message, she calls for her fans to, quote, let Scott and Scooter know how you feel about this, end quote. Big Machine responds and claims that none of this was true and that they continued to honor all of her requests to license her catalog to third parties. They are saying that they do not have the right to control an artist performing live or not, but Taylor Swift claimed that because of the current terms that she had with Big Machine Label Group, that the West Coast broadcast of her AMA's performance could have been considered a taped recording of her masters that don't belong to her. Does that make sense?
Yes. So, like, because they have to, it's not aired necessarily live, that recording that is then aired could count as something that she could use as a re-recording. So exactly. I get that, but then why is Big Machine saying that that's not what they said?
It's a trick, because it's just so he said, she said. And I mean, like, her publicist and / her team posted a statement corroborating what Taylor had alleged, basically saying that they might have been allowing some things, but not without the stipulation that she couldn't record. So it could have been that their Big Machine, once again, is not telling the full truth, and they're saying, we can't control her from performing live, but also could have put in her contract or be telling her behind closed doors, if you do this performance live, you're forfeiting your right to re-record next year. So it's just kind of, it's like a he said, she said, and also I just don't necessarily know that Big Machine is telling the full truth at any point in time. Keep in mind, like, as all of this is going down, Scooter Braun has still not said a word.
Freaking Scooter.
Right. Until November 18th of 2019, which is like 5 days before the AMAs, something like that. Scooter Braun tweets a photo with text on screen. So it's like almost like a screenshot of a notes app. With text that read, quote, kindness is the only response, and captioned it, words to live by.
Shut up. You knowingly bought Taylor Swift's music. You knew what you were getting into. What I don't think they realized is how hard everybody would go for the re-recordings. Because those hadn't really ever been done before, so they were probably like, oh, these are going to be a big flop, and we're going to make all the money. If only they could see the future. I'm
so glad that you brought that up, because we will be talking about that. It wasn't until November 21st, 2019, 3 days before the M&M's?
I love the M&Ms.
The M&Ms are the best award show there is. When Scooter Braun finally spoke out about the situation, acknowledging that he had intentionally not been speaking on it because it was a conversation for, quote, behind closed doors, which, like, freaking eye roll. You did this in front of the whole world. You embarrassed her by selling her music, and now you want her to handle it behind closed doors? I don't think so.
No.
He claims that he and his team had been receiving death threats and people were calling his office with threats. I believe that, like 100%. And he made this statement, which I thought that this was really weird. I just wanted to put this in here because it just seems odd to me, but I don't have any true explanation as to why he would have done this. He made this statement at the 2019 Entertainment Industry Conference.
What even is that?
I don't know if it's aired or something, or if there's press there that's like leaking things that people say. I honestly have no idea, but I just thought that was really strange. And then finally, a day later on November 22nd, 2019, 2 days before the AMAs, Scooter Braun posts a statement about the threats that he and his family had been receiving. A short part of this very long statement read, quote, "I have no choice other than to publicly ask for us to come together and try to find a resolution."
Who's us?
Right. Because you've already made the deal.
Who is us?
Like, whatever. "I have tried repeatedly through your representatives," your being Taylor Swift's representatives, "to achieve a solution, but unfortunately here we are. This game of telephone isn't working."
Okay.
To continue on, when I say you in the statement, he's referring to Taylor Swift. "It is important that you understand that your words carry a tremendous amount of weight and that your message can be interpreted by some in different ways. We are living in a time of pointless violence, and as a husband and father, I am concerned. To be frank, I was shocked and disheartened to hear that my presence in the Big Machine deal caused you so much pain. As the handful of times we have actually met, I have always remembered them being pleasant and respectful. Knowing what I know now, all I have wanted to do is rectify the situation. I'm open to all possibilities."
He regrets big time.
Which, like, for all intents and purposes, good statement. Like, well
Good
written.
statement, but like pretending you don't know anything about anything that has to do with like why Taylor Swift literally disappeared for a year and a half. Like, just shut up. Shut up.
And also, as we continue on, you'll understand why this is bullshit. Why, when he says, "I'm open to all possibilities, I want to rectify this situation," is absolutely a lie. But we'll get there. He also claims that any of his attempts to contact Taylor Swift were unsuccessful or rejected. And I'm assuming that she doesn't want to talk to him.
No.
Like, hate to say it, but like, talk to my lawyers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's cliche, but it's true. When the sale of Big Machine Label Group initially went through, many of Scooter Braun's friends or colleagues posted on social media congratulating him, and one of his friends even posted an Instagram story that said, quote, "When your friend buys Taylor Swift," end quote.
She can't be bought. She's a person.
Right. Scooter Braun reposted it and then deleted it shortly after. But ultimately, it's like the damage is done. You knew, like, this just goes to show you knew exactly what you were doing. You know that there's a human being attached to these songs, and this is reprehensible behavior, as much as you'd like to pretend like you don't know that it is. But nonetheless, obviously, so we kind of have like the Instagram post, then we have the initial sale of her music, and now we have the AMAs. These are kind of like the three big parts thus far of this feud. Ultimately, they came to some sort of agreement about the AMAs because when she did perform, she starts her set out with the song "The Man" and wore a white button down with the names of her first 6 albums plastered all over it. Obviously, "The Man" is from Lover, so he didn't own that album, but she did sing other songs from some of her older albums. Can I just say too, her haircut ate this performance.
Oh my god, like, yeah.
Her hair looks so good.
It's like a long bob situation with like light waves. And of course the bangs.
So good. In December of 2019, Taylor Swift was awarded Billboard's Woman of the Decade award and referenced the feud in her speech, stating, quote, "Lately there's been a new shift that has affected me personally, and as your resident loud person, I feel like I need to bring it up. And that's the unregulated world of private equity coming in and buying up our music as if it's real estate or an app or a shoe line. The sale happened to me without my approval, consultation, or consent. Scooter Braun never contacted me or my team to discuss it prior to the sale. The definition of toxic male privilege in our industry to say, well, he's always been nice to me. Of course he's nice to you. If you're in this room, you have something he needs." Which is the tea.
I love that.
Like, period. The feud then continued online in April of 2020 when Taylor Swift found out that Big Machine Label Group was releasing an album of her live performance from a 2008 concert.
What?
Right. Insane. it'll make sense. You actually kind of alluded to it
Oh.
earlier. She took to her Instagram story and claimed that they were doing this because they realized that buying her music without her being attached to it was actually not as profitable as they thought it would be. And now they're doing whatever they can to make money.
Oh, that's so, yeah, because, like, I don't think they understand we ride or die for Taylor Swift.
Like, the
Like,
irony.
Like, Taylor Swift as a person, not, like, we're gonna go for her. Like, we literally stopped listening to her music for her, like, to benefit her, which sounds so weird, but that's exactly what we did.
In what I think was an attempt to sort of rectify this situation, in May of 2020, the Swifties were sleuthing and discovered that on Taylor's Spotify page, that Big Machine label group had replaced all of her original copies of her album with the Big Machine releases. In order to find the originals, you had to search for them. So fans started creating playlists with the originals so that Big Machine would hopefully not be profiting off of these tracks. To be honest, this doesn't completely make sense to me because in my thought process, I'm like, well, if they owned the masters, then doesn't that mean that they own the
I
originals?
think they would make money off of both. I think their goal was to try to get it maybe, like, not as associated with, like, her, which doesn't make any sense because it's still gonna say her name. But, like, it's not like her album cover situation, maybe.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. But this brings us to November of 2020, which is really when shit hits the fan, in my opinion. And back to my point about why him saying, I've tried to rectify this, I want to find a solution, is absolute, utter bullshit. This is why. This marks the moment when, not even 2 years after acquiring her masters and the rights to her music, Scooter Braun sold them again to Shamrock Capital, which is a private investment firm based in LA, which basically invests in all things media and entertainment, but has absolutely nothing to do with platforming artists, as I understand it. Like, they're not doing good in the music industry. He sold them for $300 million.
So he got tired of getting, like, beat the frick up and sold them.
Or he's making a shitload of money off of them again. Like, to me, when I first read, like, okay, he bought them for 300 mil, he sold them for 300 mil, I'm like, oh, maybe he just broke even. I don't know really how the money nets out, but he had to have been making money off of this deal. Like, there's no way. And also, he is still somewhat profiting off of her music, even though Shamrock Capital already owns it, which is we'll talk about a little bit. Just in case for anyone listening, if the impact isn't hitting, he just sold her music again, right out from under her. Like, that's what just happened.
Yep.
When it happened the first time, now it's happened again.
Yeah, and well, and this time he can't even claim that she knew because she had nothing to do with her own music at this point.
Right. And, like, now her father isn't even involved as a shareholder. Of course, this is, like, devastating to her. She takes to Twitter, again, not going to read with the whole statement, it's really long. You can find it with a Google search, but the gist of it was that she and her team were trying to negotiate with Scooter Braun so that she could buy her music back. But his requirement was that she sign an NDA that stated she could never say anything negative about him before she could even look at the financials for what it would cost to buy her own music. Her team informed her that this was not normal and he would never even give her a quote for what a ballpark amount might have been. So he's like, you have to say you're not going to say anything bad about me, and then if I charge you $5 billion to buy your own music back and you can't afford it, now
you can't talk
that's
about
not my
me
problem
ever again.
and nobody's gonna know because you can't talk about me ever again.
That's
exactly
so odd. No.
What a freaking weirdo. Like, he really thought he was gonna get away with it. A few weeks prior, in October of 2020, so the deal was announced, and then but a few weeks before this, she received a letter from Shamrock Capital, which is the investment firm that bought her music from Scooter, letting her know that they had purchased 100% of her music videos and album art, making this the second time in 2 years that her music was sold without her involvement or knowledge at the very least. Shamrock Capital did tell her that they wanted to reach out earlier, but I guess they were told by Scooter Braun that if they did, then the deal would be off. To really twist the knife, Scooter Braun had negotiated terms wherein he would continue to profit off of her music. At this point is when Taylor Swift announced that she has begun re-recording her old songs. Like, I just cannot drive the point home enough that she was trying to buy her music and no one would entertain her. Like, this isn't just like, oh, like 13-year-old Justin Bieber who has like I mean, this is just a hypothetical, but like has no clue what's happening with his music and how this industry works. Like at this point, she had been in the music industry for nearly 20 years. She knows what's going on. She knows how these deals work. She's trying to buy it back, and no one is letting her.
That just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just like money hungry people. They don't want her to profit off of her own music. They want to profit off of her music themselves without having to do any of the work.
Exactly. And I think too, just something that I want to throw in here that I didn't even include, but now that you say that, I feel like it's important to note. Obviously, this is 2020, so we're in the middle of COVID and the pandemic. And she did make a statement at one point saying, this is just another example of outrageous greed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Like, it's just, you're taking advantage once again. Like, I feel like there was a lot in COVID of like people really scrambling, and I feel like that's kind of what she's alluding to. But she did nonetheless write a letter to the specific people at Shamrock Capital who were directly involved in the purchase of her music, and told them that she was optimistic at first when she found out that they were purchasing her music. To your point earlier, maybe she's like, perhaps they're open to negotiation. But then she found out that Scooter Braun would still be indirectly profiting.
Do you know how he was indirectly profiting? Like what was going on
royalties, I assume. Yeah. But she told them that she could not in good conscience work with them and let them know that she will be moving forward with re-recording. Something that I do want to throw in here, because I feel like when she gets criticized for everything, and I feel like when she started re-recording her music, there was some criticism of like, she's so like conceited that she thinks that she can just re-record her music and re-release albums that are going to succeed and whatever. I feel like there was some controversy around that. So I do just want to note, this is not the first time that artists have re-recorded their music after feeling like they were not fairly compensated. Both Prince and Def Leppard have done this before.
I don't think I realized that.
Me neither. I had no idea. It's not unheard of. I just really think that like this was revolutionary, this situation, because it was bringing these conversations that usually happen behind closed doors to the forefront of the music industry, so that artists would hopefully stop getting taken advantage of, which is clear because even just the way that Scooter Braun is saying to her publicly that she needs to handle this privately just goes to show to me that this has definitely happened many times.
Yeah.
Prior to the second sale of her music in July of 2020, Taylor Swift released her album Folklore. There were a few songs on this album that fans speculated may have been about Scooter Braun and Scott Borchetta, namely Mad Woman, My Tears Ricochet, and The Lakes. Mad Woman even seemed to potentially reference Scooter Braun's wife and maybe her in potential involvement in the feud. A little bit more on that later. Sometime around December of 2020, Taylor Swift allowed Ryan Reynolds to use her re-record of Love Story in a Match commercial, like Match.com, the dating site. And towards the end of the commercial, there's a fallen scooter on the ground lying next to a dumpster.
That's so funny.
And the assumption is that this is a reference to Scooter Braun.
Yeah.
In April and November of 2021, Taylor Swift officially re-releases Fearless and Red, Taylor's version, which outsold the originals by massive numbers in its first years. I saw ballpark numbers around like the originals were like around 250K versus the 1 to 2 million for the re-recorded albums. So they were doing much better than her stolen catalog.
Oh, absolutely. And also, so November of 2021, that was the Red came out the weekend that your brother got married. And I had...
Oh, I don't remember that.
No, because this is why I remember it so well. Because I had like a 2.5 hour drive from where your brother got married to where I was going to college. And that is how long the Red Taylor's version is. And I listened to this from start to finish, like pulling out of the parking lot to leave, to pulling into my house in college, to finishing that album, and I like was literally crying the whole way because I was like, this is just so beautiful, it's perfect. And Red is like one of my favorite albums, and like the all 10-minute version, like it was perfect.
Not your sobbing down the interstate. I'm dead.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I didn't realize that it was that long. That's a long album.
Yeah.
Damn. Well, it's probably fun to know that you were part of that 1 to 2 million. In June of 2021, this is just weird and gross, Variety magazine named Scooter Braun their Music Mogul of the Year. And in his interview for this accolade, they asked him about Taylor Swift's reaction to the sale, about which he said, quote, "I regret and it makes me sad that Taylor had that reaction to the deal. All of what happened has been very confusing and not based on anything factual. I don't know what story she was told. I asked for her to sit down with me several times, but she refused. I offered to sell her the catalog back and went under NDA, but her team refused. It all seems very unfortunate. Open communication is important and can lead to understanding. She and I only met briefly 3 or 4 times in the past, and all of our interactions were really friendly and kind. I find her to be an incredibly talented artist, and I wish her nothing but the best.
Boo-hoo. Okay.
It's like, for me, once again, this statement is not telling the whole truth.
Also, open communication is important. Tell me what an NDA is, Scooter. That's not open communication. That's secret.
That's so true. And also, I mean, it's like, okay, you might be right that you asked her to sit down several times. You might be right that you offered to sell her catalog back. But you know that that's not the full story, and that she didn't just like flippantly say, "No, I'm good. I don't want them."
She also
Go ahead and
doesn't
sell
owe
them.
you anything just because you bought her music. Like,
So true.
She doesn't owe you a sit-down meeting.
Exactly. No, you're so right. In April of 2022, he said about her re-recording her masters, quote, "I think Taylor has every right to re-record. She has every right to pursue her masters, and I wish her nothing but well." That doesn't make any sense. So clearly he can't speak either. Anyways, I have zero interest in saying anything bad about her. The only thing I disagree with is weaponizing a fan base.
Just because most of his fan base is women. Her fan base is women.
True. But you didn't have a problem weaponizing Justin Bieber. In 2016.
And Kanye. You saw the lyrics.
So spare me, Scooter. What he didn't think through was the fact that his family was going to be brought into this, which
they shouldn't have.
Said,
that was wrong.
We don't condone that behavior, but also he should have the foresight as a music mogul to understand what's going to happen. And that maybe you shouldn't make shitty deals.
True.
And you should protect your family. It's not up to Taylor Swift to protect your family, to put it on the record. Later that year, Taylor Swift released her 10th album, Midnights, with 2 songs that are speculated to reference Scooter Braun once again. Like, one thing about her, she does not have a short memory.
No, she's gonna remember.
Vigilante Shit and Karma were the 2 songs on this album. So remember I said we're going to come back to Scooter Braun's wife. Well, now ex-wife, because they separated in 2021 after 7 years of marriage and 3 kids later. I feel really bad for these kids.
Funny is we literally talked about him being with Sydney Sweeney, and it didn't even clock to me that he has had a wife this whole time. Oops.
Wait, no, that's so funny. I mean, at least he is divorced. I'll give him that. But
that's okay.
No, it's a good point. Also, think about the fact that Sydney Sweeney is like basically our age and he has 3 kids. That's crazy. I'm pretty sure he's like 45. While neither Scooter or his ex-wife really went into much detail about the divorce, fans think that Vigilante Shit references that he may have had an affair, and that's why they were divorced. But on top of the divorce, this was interesting and honestly very confusing, and so I hope that nobody who's like in private equity is listening to this, because it's going to be very obvious that I don't understand the details of this. But basically they think that in Vigilante Shit, she was calling him out for a $200 million legal dispute regarding a new private equity fund that he was trying to launch. I think the issue is that he breached a contract on some kind of financial agreement and maybe wasn't upholding his end of the deal. But you know how that song is kind of like, I told your white collar crimes to the FBI?
Yeah.
Like, not that Taylor Swift found out about his wrongdoings in this private equity deal, but I think people think that maybe that's like where she got that reference from. Scooter Braun obviously denies that this song is about his divorce or has anything to do with him. He stated specifically about it, "My ex-wife is one of my best friends, so me and my ex-wife laugh about that stuff. We don't even call each other ex. That's like my partner. That's the mother of my children," which I hope that that's true for the sake of his children. I hope that's true too. Jumping to 2023, it starts coming out that Scooter Braun was losing some other big artists from his company SB Projects, which we talked about at the beginning of the episode, namely Ariana Grande and Demi Lovato, which, as Julia discovered, they're still listed.
Now that I'm thinking about it, they might still be listed because potentially maybe he owns some of their older work.
100%. That's probably what it is. Ariana Grande has also received some backlash from fans about continuing to work with Scooter Braun after he posted a congratulations post. Like, I think it was on Instagram. I think it had something to do with her getting the role in Wicked.
Well, also, let's discuss this. They had originally signed with Scooter Braun. They did not get their music unknowingly sold and bought by Scooter Braun under the table. So
100%.
it's a different scenario for every artist. Like, they chose to sign with Scooter Braun. Taylor Swift did not have that choice and was forced. Like, she didn't even sign with him. He just bought all of her stuff. So, like,
Right.
they have a very different... I don't understand why she would be getting hate. Like, that's weird to me. But, okay. They just love to pit women against each other.
100%. And I think, too, it had to do with the way that she responded. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but I think she responded to it like, thank you so much. Like, you've been such a great mentor, or like, appreciative of you, whatever. It wasn't really anything crazy, but like, obviously, the Swifties are going to find it.
Yeah.
Of course. On June 17th, 2024, Scooter Braun officially announces his retirement from the music industry. He explains that he will still be the CEO of Hype Entertainment, which is the US arm of a K-pop parent company.
That was a lot of words that I don't know. Parent company? US arm?
It's like a K-pop music parent company that like owns a bunch of K-pop bands, I think. And there's a sub company of that K-pop parent.
This is why I can never be a billionaire, because I will never understand any of it.
Right. I think really the point to take home here is the fact that he had his fingers in so many pies in the music industry and is just involved in so many deals. It's kind of crazy. Not one day later, though, on June 18, 2024, Swift was in Cardiff, Wales on the Eras tour and played a song mashup that fans think was a direct dig to Scooter Braun and his retirement. She played a mashup of This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things and I Forgot That You Existed. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, where we have our four major things, he sold her music. That's like the next huge thing in this scandal or in this feud. But then it just kind of like continues on with them kind of like making little digs at each other for years past. In August of 2024, Taylor Swift hosted a birthday party at her home in Rhode Island for Blake Lively with a bunch of celebrities in attendance. Afterwards, TMZ posts an article about it, and Scooter Braun reposted it to his story and captioned it, "How was I not invited to this?" with the hashtag laugh a little.
Shut up? Like, are you Ellen DeGeneres?
Period. Like, it's just so weird. I don't understand. Because then in October of 2024, literally like 3 months after this, HBO documentary came out about their feud. He commented about it, quote, "It's 5 years later. I think everyone, it's time to move on. There were a lot of things that were misrepresented."
You're still at the restaurant, okay?
Period. Like, you're gonna sit here and tell us to move on when you just reposted a random ass article from TMZ about a birthday party that she threw for her friend?
Yeah.
Like, what a weird thing to do for somebody who's, quote, moved on. Whatever. More recently, on May 20th of 2025, Taylor Swift debuted the re-record of Look What You Made Me Do in the final season of The Handmaid's Tale.
Give me Reputation! Give it to me!
This was 10 days before the monumental day of May 30th, 2025.
What a great day.
The moment you've all been waiting for. And I know Julia was waiting for it. Taylor Swift announces that she has officially bought back all of her masters from Shamrock Capital.
Thank you, Shamrock. Thank you.
So I think that it's not a coincidence that only a year after Scooter Braun retires that she finally gets her music back. Like, that just doesn't seem coincidental to me. That seems like an intentional choice on behalf of Shamrock Capital.
Okay, yeah.
That's truly just speculation, but that's kind of how I feel. All in all, it took her about 6 years to close this deal, to finally get her music back. There were reports saying that this was a 9-figure deal between about $600 million and $1 billion, but that has been debunked. I don't know exactly how much she paid for them.
Wait, I'm so interested. I
hope it wasn't more than $300 billion.
That's what I'm saying.
$300 million, because that's what Shamrock Capital paid for him.
It's reported 360. 360 mil.
I can vibe with that. $60 million profit, I'm okay with that.
No, I mean, yeah. Everybody's got to make a profit, I 100%. Guess.
It's all about the money at the end of the day. The best part about this, in my opinion, is that Scooter Braun will not profit from the sale of Taylor Swift's masters back to her and was not involved in any way.
Also, didn't she kind of credit, well, obviously the the money from the Eras Tour, but as well as the re-recordings, and that gave her enough money to be able to then buy her masters.
Probably. I didn't find anything on that specifically, but that wouldn't surprise me. When asked what his thoughts were on Taylor buying back her music, Scooter Braun simply responded, quote, "I am happy for her."
Okay, Scooter, thank you.
Like, what a bum ass response. There is speculation, because this is what I'm saying, you guys. She does not have a short memory. She does not have a short memory. Because there is speculation that the track Father Figure on The Life of a Showgirl, which was only released in October of this year, is basically Taylor Swift having the last word in this feud. Earlier this year, Scooter Braun was asked how he feels about fans who are still...
Why are we still talking to Scooter? That's what I want to know.
Such a great question. Why are we still talking to Scooter? I thought he retired.
I thought Scooter was gone, okay?
Right. Why are we still talking to him? Nonetheless, somebody, I don't know who, sorry, to whoever put this quote out there, he was asked what he has to say to fans who are still angry with him over how he handled this deal, aka me and Julia. He said, part of what he said is, "My response to that is they made the horrible miscalculation that I care."
You made the horrible miscalculation that you didn't think that her re-recordings would do well. You piece of poop.
And that we wouldn't care. Like, be so for real. Boo Boo the Fool.
Yeah.
He continues on to say many other things, but honestly, it kind of basically says that the purchases and sales of her masters were honestly good for her career from a money-making standpoint, because every time she released a re-record, she made even more money. So he's basically saying, like, you're welcome. Like, I just made you more money, which it's like, that's not the point, but okay. And just to wrap up this whole thing and put a bow on it, Taylor Swift is the richest female artist in the world with a net worth of around $1.6 billion. She has the most #1 albums on the Billboard 200 list and the highest grossing tour ever, and is also the first artist to win Album of the Year 4 times. Scooter Braun is a 45-year-old man dating a 28-year-old divorcee with 3 children who he opened up to the world for criticism because of his choices. And these folks are the consequences of our own actions. And I really think that that's the moral of the story here. What did you think about this?
I love Taylor Swift. I don't know what else to say.
Did you learn anything?
I mean, yeah, like the intricate, like the details. I didn't know much. I didn't know this timeline, all these statements going back and forth. Like, that's so, I mean, it's just so petty on both sides, but I love it. I love it. I eat it up.
Not to think it's like, obviously we have like some big moments, but truly this was a feud that went on for years with both of them just making like dig after dig, which is kind of interesting. I feel like it's one of those that, like, you know, most of our episodes are just one big incident. This was kind of like,
it was like over
many
years.
Small ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had fun writing this one. I didn't watch the HBO documentary. I just purely got all of this information from articles.
I have no desire to watch something about him.
Me neither. Like, I should have tripped him when I saw him.
What's crazy is, like, the year that this kind of started was, what, 2016? Wait.
But 2018 was the first time her masters were sold.
So I went through all of high school, college, and now some of my adulthood before she even got the chance to own her own music. That's what's so crazy.
That's really the insane part. And throughout that time, she continued to tour, continued to write music. Like, it's not like she just disappeared from the industry, you know? So, good for her. But yeah, that wraps up this week's Fame Files. Merry Christmas, everyone. And next week, we will be talking about the death of Brittany Murphy. Death of an Icon episode, Brittany Murphy. Very sad. But there's definitely some tea in there that I was not expecting to find. And then the week after that, our Fame Files episode, we will have 2 very special guests. Both of our mothers will be on the pod, and we are going to be doing.
They better not back out now that we're hard launching.
Oh my god, they definitely won't. They've been dying to be on. They're like, why don't you have us on? Or at least my mom has said that to me. I don't know about your mom.
Yeah, for sure.
And then if it goes well, we will likely have Julia's mom back on for the week, for whatever week the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City ends, because she's the
Salt
OG
Lake
Bravo
City
fan.
OG.
Yes, exactly. But thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday for Reality Digest and Thursday for another Fame Files.
Go listen to Taylor Swift.
Period. I'm going to.
Me too.
Okay, bye everyone.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week for more pop culture chaos.
The stories we cover are based on research and publicly available sources. While we strive for accuracy, some details may be disputed or unverified, and this episode is for entertainment and informational purposes only.